All right, Brian Tessier here, Remax Advanced Realtors. Thank you for taking some time out of your Friday to join us. Unless you're watching a rerun, thank you for taking the time to watch it at all. I'm super excited today to have my very favorite person, Tim Quinn from Pillar to Post. Hi, Tim.
Hey, Brian. How are you, bud?
I'm real good. So today we've got some questions lined up. First of all, Tim, we like to know, who is Tim Quinn?
Good question. My name is Tim Quinn. I am the owner of Pillar to Post Home Inspectors here in Pittsburgh. I'm the franchise owner. I'm the original franchise owner in Pittsburgh. Started 9 years ago as a single operator. I worked for a number of years building the business. Slowly, we started to expand. I'm up to the point now where we have four full-time inspectors and an office manager. Personally, I was born and raised in Pittsburgh, went to school here, married, 3 kids, live out in Murraysville.
Tim, I think whenever we first started about 8 years ago or so, how long have you been in the business at that point in time? I think we were both pretty new.
Yeah, both very new. I was probably a year under my belt when we started working together.
Right, yeah. So we've come a long way, and I got to tell you, for other agents out there, whenever you get a connection with a vendor like a home inspector, you guys can just feed off of each other, and you get to know each other like it's magic, actually. So let's just get right into it. Why should someone purchasing a home get a home inspection?
Well, that's really the key. As you go through life, certain times are very important and cause a lot of stress. Buying a house is one of those. It's one of the most important purchases you're ever going to make. As part of that, a good agent, a good team, you're going to want to do your due diligence. While you may walk into a house with the rose-colored glasses and you think it's your dream house, we're going to come in and have no skin in the game, so to speak. We don't get caught up in your dreams. We tell you exactly how it is. We don't benefit from you buying the house, just as like we don't benefit from you not buying the house. So it's an inexpensive way to learn about the condition of the house at the day of the inspection. We're an unbiased opinion. It's just a good way for people to figure out what's going on in the house.
Right, and I want to let buyers know a little bit on my end is you'll get the seller's disclosures, which is the sellers to the best of their ability, the best of their recollection, telling you what they know has been wrong with the house and what they've done to fix it. I mean, I've had some sellers that have lived there 40 years. I mean, I'm going to tell you, they're not going to remember every single thing. So a home inspection is really your last opportunity to make sure the house is up to standard, make sure there's no problems that you can't get over in order to buy this. Because once you buy the house, once you close on the house, it's an as-is sale in Pennsylvania. So you can't go back and it's too late. And you typically, whenever we write the offer, and it's usually 15 days to get a home inspection done and the results of the home inspection over to the seller. Sometimes we do 10 days, but it's never usually, it rarely is it longer than 15 days because sometimes you have a 30-day close. You have 15 days to get the inspection done, over the request over to the seller. Sometimes it's repairs, sometimes it's a credit, whatever. Then the seller has their 5 days on their end to do their due diligence to research the problem and see how much it's going to cost. And then they get back to you in 5 days. You're already at 20 days. And then the buyer has another 2 days to see what the seller says. And then from there, I mean, you're already 22 days in. If it's a 30-day close, you're looking pretty tight on the window there. So many different types of inspections. What type of inspections can a home inspector do, Tim?
Well, the basic home inspection, our company says we cover 1,600 points around the house and property. It's basically a visual inspection of the house, the systems in the house that are readily accessible. It's not technically exhaustive. Now, the term visual inspection is used all the time, but we do open electric panels. We do open up the furnaces. We're not doing a 15-point inspection on your furnace itself, but we're going to look at the general operability of it, the condition of it, the age, things like that. It's designed to reflect as accurately as possible the condition of the house at the time of the inspection. We are not able, the visual inspection part comes in as, I'm not able to break into somebody's wall. I'd love to be able to find the leak or something in the ceiling, but at the end of the day, if I do that, somebody has to fix it. I love my clients, but I'm not looking to, redo walls for everybody. We're just
Amen.
Not able to do that. So, and then that just goes, so we talk about readily accessible. If we can't get to a certain area of the house, if the attic has, 45 nails around the panel, we can't do that. We can't remove that panel. We're going to break it. Just as if there's snow on a roof, we can't inspect the roof. It happens all the time, especially this time of year. So, your basic inspection covers the house, the standards of practice of ASHI, which we'll talk about later, I'm sure. But you go to an inspector and you can get anything you want under the sun, anything that's needed as part of your due diligence. You can do termite pest inspection, a lot of times required for FHA, VA loans, radon sampling, well flow and septic if you're not fortunate enough to have public water, public sewage. We do mold testing, asbestos testing, sewer cameras. That's the big thing. Now we started offering sewer cameras this last year, and I think we did 84 in our first year without really marketing. So we use subcontractors for that, but we're to the point now we're doing it so often that we're actually investing in a camera system, dedicating one of our full-time employees to be doing that.
Yeah, and I want to point out to everybody, this is indigenous to the city of Pittsburgh, not so much on the outskirts because the new construction has, they're not over 100, the infrastructure is not over 100 years old for the sewer line. And I don't know if anybody's watching this in other states, which you guys have, but Tim's referring to the inner city of Pittsburgh primarily. You touched on a good point about not being able to, winter inspections. I think a buyer is a kind of I don't want to call it like a negative, so to speak, because you can't really get on the roof if there's any snow, really. It's a safety issue.
Not only just the roof, but we can't test the cooling system.
That's what I was going to, yep.
65 degrees for more than 48 hours, we can't run the AC. So what happens is you get a buyer buying a house in December, and then in April or May, they're calling us saying our AC doesn't work. And we explain to them, look, we were unable to test it. We tell you the age, tell you what it looks like, but
right, absolutely. Buyers, that's a very good point. It's physically impossible to test an AC unit. It has to be over 65 degrees for, I think, at least 2 to 3 days before you can turn your air conditioner on. So, you can't delay a closing in January until June. So what do? The best thing I always do for my clients is make sure we get a home warranty with air conditioner coverage and roof leak coverage if we're buying a house in the dead of winter, unless it's brand new construction or something like that. So also I wanted to talk about one of your options. I think people always want us to tear down walls and all that stuff, but I think you do have one of those cameras that could.
We do. We here at Pillar Post, we offer 3 different inspection packages. We have our Plus, our Premium, and our Prestige. Our Plus, is a very good, the same inspection we've been doing for years here at Pillar to Post. About 5-6 years ago, we developed a different program. Certain buyers have extra needs. They want to be, a little more thorough. With our upgraded inspection package, we not only offer a thermal imaging camera, we use that to check your electrical components. We pull the electric panel apart. We look for hot spots inside. We'll check plugs and outlets throughout the house with it. My favorite part is the basement. We get in there, it's a finished basement. We have no access to the walls. We can't tell the condition of it, the cracks, moisture content. We'll use a moisture meter, but it's only going to go so far. So with the thermal camera, we use a FLIR E8 camera. We look at the walls, take a picture of it. We can do picture in picture of it. If we see something come up on the wall, an area that may be of concern, because it doesn't test for moisture, it's a temperature variance. We'll put a moisture meter on it to get a secondary reading, a confirmation, so to speak. We will also run plumbing throughout the house. We'll check the ceilings for any type of leaks that may not be visible. I know about 5 years ago, Brian, you and I did an inspection. We ran the plumbing, and it was a split level, came down, and the ceiling sort of sagged, and the client did order the premium package. We put the thermal camera up there, and the entire ceiling was blue. We touched it, and you remember the water started pouring through the ceiling. It had been, gathering up there for years. So, it's a valuable tool, just like anything else. It's a tool. It's not the magic piece that's going to solve the riddle for us, but it's just another piece of the puzzle that maybe we can solve.
Absolutely, and buyers, I think it's critical for you guys to attend these home inspections. I know a lot of buyers ask me, should I attend? Oh, you should absolutely attend. When Tim has that camera, I stand behind him, the clients stand behind him, and Tim will show you what potential hazards there are with the home down the road. So it may not be a problem now, and he can't put in a report or whatever, but he can say, hey, look, it's definitely better if you attend. Another thing I want to point out is we have this a lot, is the sellers are moving, so they have a whole bunch of their stuff boxed up, and they have it against the walls in the basement, the unfinished basement, or on the garage. I mean, just so almost like hoarderish, to the point where the inspector can't get through. And I've had this in my listings as well. And sellers aren't doing it on purpose. It's just an issue that they don't even think about. And if the home inspector says I can't get to the walls to inspect them, so we have to have the sellers come in a different day. The inspector completes the inspection, moves on. The seller has to move all the stuff away from the walls, and then somebody has to pay the home inspector to go back out and check it again so we can do a thorough inspection. So whenever you set up your home inspection, you may want to mention to your buyer's agent, to mention to the listing agent, hey, make sure the walls are fully exposed so the inspector can get there.
That's one of the things we do, Brian. We, the MLO, we're members of the West Penn Multi-List Service. And some of their rules are that we have to contact the listing agent to get permission to enter the house to use our key card. So what I do is we send the listing agent email, and we always CC our buyer's agent on it, explain to them the access limitations that we need access throughout the property. And we explain about coming back, recheck fees, things like that. So trying to kill two birds with one stone, so to speak.
It's good you do that, but unfortunately, a lot of people don't read stuff that we send them ahead of time. All right, moving on. Governing body. Can I just go out and start doing home inspections tomorrow, or do I need to be certified as someone that governs me?
Well, in Pennsylvania, unfortunately, right now, there's no requirements. There's no home inspection licensing. There are requirements, however. You have to participate in a number of inspections. You have to follow the ASHI standards, the American Society of Home Inspectors, and you have to belong to one of the national groups. The two biggest one right now are ASHI, the American Society of Home Inspectors, and INTERNACHI, which is the International Association of Certified Home Inspectors. We used to have a couple more, but as years gone by, they folded. A couple more popped up. But as long as you're a paying member in good standing with any of these, you can become a home inspector.
Right. So buyers, I would make sure you get an ASHI. And how is that spelled, ASHI?
ASHI, the American Society of Home Inspectors. And that's Pennsylvania actually adopted the ASHI standards of practice as the law. So, INTERNACHI is very similar, but ASHI Pennsylvania is an ASHI state. And that's what we follow. When we do a home inspection, Brian, we give them a binder. And inside that binder is actually a copy of the current ASHI standards of practice. So if someone has a question of why we couldn't do things or why we did a certain thing, they just have to check the standards to see what our report says in regards to that. Great.
Yeah. Is that the binder I see behind you there?
Yes, it is. Right there.
Awesome. So you can get one of those free little binders if you get a home inspection with Tim. So home inspection, I'm busy. I have a job. How much time should I allot for a standard size house?
So standard size house, 1.5 to 2 hours. Now, this goes back to something I talk to clients all the time. I have to work. I can't get there. Let's do after work. Well, this time of year, it's dark at 4:30. Mm-hmm. I can't start an inspection at 5 o'clock. Now, in the summertime, we can start an inspection at 8 o'clock at night and still get on the roof and still see things. So it is a very important thing. Take a day off work. We do offer Saturday, Sunday inspections. We can do that, work with your schedule. And with 4 home inspectors, we really are flexible throughout the week. So if you need a 3 p.m., you need an 8 a.m., we can get there for you. So plan on about 1.5 to 2 hours.
Yeah, that should be plenty of time. Anybody wants to go any longer than that in a standard size house, you got to question what the heck. I mean, there might be getting a little too into it, so to speak. So hot button here. Sometimes I've had as a listing agent and a buyer's agent, the sellers say that the inspector broke something. And I actually, quick story, Tim, I don't know if you know this, a home inspector I used before you, he was doing the garage door eyeball check where as the garage door is coming down, not the eyeball check, as it's coming down, you put your hand there to pretend simulate you're a child that got hit by the door. And it didn't want to stop. And it wasn't an insulated door, I want to call it a cheaper door. And it actually buckled. The door actually folded. And I don't know what he ended up doing, but I mean, that obviously failed because if that had been a child or a car, it would have crushed them. So what happens if an inspector damages something in a home?
So you have two ways to handle it. You can either go out of pocket as an inspector. I'm sorry, there's actually 3 ways that you can handle this. There's only 2 the way my company would handle it. The first way is to ignore the problem and not pay and not step up and take responsibility. Unfortunately, there are people out there that do that. The second way would just be out of pocket, reimburse the client for the cost of it. The third way would be insurance. Now, my company, you're required to have errors and omissions and general liability in the state of Pennsylvania. I think it's $50,000, maybe it's $100,000. Here at Pillar to Post, we're required to carry $1 million in each errors and omissions and general liability. So if I broke something, and I have broken things, you go to operate a window and you move the blinds and you knock the trinket down that is always an heirloom. It costs a lot.
Of course. Or at least it wasn't until you knocked it down, then it was.
Right, exactly. The value, the demand for it just went up. So, but we do everything we can to take care. My mom, hi mom, she's watching. She did her best to teach me to respect people's houses. We go in, we take our shoes off. We're not looking to drag mud and snow throughout the house. But more importantly, we treat the house as if we are a guest in it, taking special care not to do it, to do our best not to damage things. But, God forbid we ever do damage something, we're going to make it right.
Right, absolutely. And I think that's a sign of a good inspector or an ASHI certified inspector.
Yeah, listen, you have to own it. You make a mistake, you have to own it. You have to teach your employees, teach your kids, teach everyone around you. This is the way you handle them. That's a part of being an adult is these days. So,
absolutely. All right. So we talked. We're informing buyers, potential buyers, et cetera. But let's talk about sellers for a quick second. I've always it depends on the market. Sellers, if it's super hot and as soon as you put the listing on the market, you don't even have a sign in the yard, you're getting 5 offers. You don't need a pre-inspection pretty much. But when I first got in the business, it was a buyer's market. I mean, we couldn't even get buyers into the house. So I highly recommended pre-inspections. Tim, what is you're going to be maybe a little biased because you're a home inspector, but what is your feelings on a seller getting house pre-inspected?
Everybody should get a pre-listing inspection. To be honest, even in a seller's market, it's a good idea. We talked earlier, Brian, somebody's lived in the house for 40 years and her disclosure says, how old's your roof? ? How old's the furnace ? Oh, the furnace is only 5 years old. Well, an inspector comes in and finds an issue with the roof and finds peel and paint outside, and it's the middle of December. We can't go outside and just paint. The furnace, it's not 5 years old, it's 35 years old. It just, people, you get to living in a house and you just don't pay attention to things. So the biggest thing we tell them is get the inspection before you put the house on the market. That way you're not confined by 10 days, 15 days. I got 22 days is the whole process. I don't need 6 days to get a new furnace in here, fix my water main, do this, and this. When you're under a time crunch, you're going to pay however much to get it done. We come in a month before you put it on the market and tell you the items that are in need of repair. Now you could do it. You can find a better price. You can find a better contractor and just relieve some of your own stress. So I don't think we've ever had a negative aspect of doing a pre-home inspection, a pre-listing inspection, other than, it gets scheduled for Monday and the house sold Saturday when somebody put it on the market, Brian.
All right, man, shit happens. I always say it's because we're getting the pre-inspection.
Great tool. I think it's another great tool in the arsenal, especially, in such a competitive market when people are trying to sell the house.
Absolutely, especially in the winter markets, et cetera. Guys, keep your eyes peeled on my social media because I already wrote up the framework. I'm going to do a vlog on why I feel you should get a pre-inspection. Okay, so we're going to move on, Tim. Last question, and this is one of my favorites, is, take us through what a home inspection looks like from like the minute I'm a buyer, I sit down and say, hey, Tim, I need your service, to the end.
All right, so either you call me directly on my cell, you hit me up through our website, you email us, or you call the office and talk to Jamie. Once we get you on the schedule, we're talking to you on the phone. We're going to give you the date, the time, find out all of your concerns about the house. We'll send out a couple emails to you, to the client, to the listing agent, asking for permission again. The day of the inspection, we're going to meet you at the property. As soon as we get there, we're going to start inspecting the outside of the house, including the roof if we can. Now, I personally like to walk roofs. I think it's a good way to figure out what's going on with the shingles, the flashing, the chimneys, the siding. We check the entire outside from top to bottom. We have a conversation with the client, where we set expectations, find out what's important to them, reinforce the ASHI standards of what we'll be doing. We go inside and we work from the bottom up. We start in the basement and work all the way up to the attic. We find it's easier. A lot of times, the most important things in the house are located in the basement. Your mechanicals, your furnace, your electric panel, water heater, basement moisture. So we tell the client, look, we know you got to get in here and do measurements because you're getting carpeting or getting curtains or whatever the thing is. Hang with us for about the first half hour, 45 minutes. Go over the important things. And then we'll let you, go through the house room as you see fit. If we find anything else important, we're going to talk to you about it. And then when we finish up the attic, we come downstairs and we have another conversation with our clients, making sure that we address their concerns. If they were concerned about the ductwork, we're going to talk about that. Find out if there's anything else that arose during the inspection that they're concerned about, or just to make sure that everyone's on the same page. As you leave, oftentimes before you even get home, we'll have a computer-generated report emailed to you. We take pride in that, issuing it the same day. We work on the computer as we go, so things are fresh in our minds. We'll send that to you, and CC the agent on it. And, we tell every client that they're going to get a follow-up email, a survey about it. We ask them to be as honest as possible when filling it out, because every response goes directly to our website. So good, bad, medium, we want to hear it all. If it's a bad review, we post it just the same, just because we want people to see the transparency of it. So all in all, it's a very good process, very quick and painless way to get a good idea of what's going on in the house.
Yeah, and I think one of the things I love is that digital color report, which you have to get permission to share with the agent from the buyer, since they own the report, I do believe.
Yep.
Right. Okay.
And
all right, guys.
Our agreement, they have to actually agree to that.
Okay, great. Yeah, which they always do, because that's what we need to negotiate. 20 minutes, Tim. I appreciate your time. I know you're a busy man with all these inspections. Thank you very much for taking the time, and I'll catch you on the road.
Thanks, Brian. Appreciate you having me, bud.